Everyone always compares the Glocks to the SIGs, right? But so rarely do I see people compare Beretta to SIG. And in my opinion, with these two guns, you have the Beretta 92 and you have the SIG P226. Those are probably as big as, if not bigger than, any comparison or rivalry that you can have even between SIG and Glock. The reason is in the 80s, mid 80s sometime, forget the exact year, the military wanted to release a new pistol. Called the XM9 program. And so it just so happened that the Beretta 92 beat out the SIG P226 for that same contract. So they actually competed against each other together. Okay. However, neither of these are the military version. Both of these are the kind of hopped up, like, super expensive performance version. So what we have is a Beretta 92X Performance and a SIG P226 Legion. All right, so a whole bunch of very awesome similarities between these two guns, and both are absolutely mind-blowing in very nearly every single way. I adore them both. So what we have on the Beretta 92X Performance is a double single action pistol, where the SIG P226 is a single action only variant. Is the one that I got. Okay, so for those of you that aren't exactly sure what that means, a double action, double single action gun basically allows you to fire both in single action mode, which is exactly in the mode where it's in, with the hammer cocked back, where a single action is performed by the trigger. In this case, by the way, totally clear. No magazine in it either. So a single action of the trigger simply drops the hammer. That's all it does. Okay. Now, what's really cool though about this one is this also does have a double action mode where, with the safety off and the hammer down, you can pull the trigger, and the double action mode both cocks the trigger and drops. Both cocks the hammer and drops the hammer. All right. So, as you can see, that's a much longer trigger press. Versus, you see how the trigger moved there? So versus it coming to the back. And so therefore the weight of the pull in single action mode is much, much lighter than what it would be in double action mode. Doesn't travel nearly as far, and then also the weight of the trigger itself is quite a bit less in single action as it is right here. Okay, so the SIG, on the other hand, is single action only. Okay, so this gun is also empty. Okay, so you can only fire this gun in single action mode with a hammer back. Okay, so with the safety off, you pull the trigger and it drops the hammer. You let the trigger forward, but pulling the trigger again does not reactuate the hammer. Okay, the positives and negatives of those both is that you don't have to carry this gun cocked and locked. All right, so meaning with the safety on with a hammer back. You can carry it in double action mode, just understanding though that you have to train to that, because that first round, the trigger press is so much heavier. It's very easy to get off target because you have to press so much harder. Okay, so as long as you're training to it, it's not as big of a deal. But that being said, a single action only trigger is going to be much nicer, in my opinion. So in my opinion, even in single action mode to single action mode, the Beretta is not nearly as nice as what the SIG is. All right, travel is much, much further, and also the weight of the trigger is much, much heavier on the Beretta compared to the SIG. Okay, so there's very little movement there, as you can see. All right, so in my opinion, I definitely like the SIG's trigger more, just by nature of the fact it's a single action only. Okay, now, what about the other things? So I'm looking at the finish here. As you can see, this gun is actually wet because I actually use it. I just cleaned it a couple days ago, and it's just been sitting, so that's why you see it's a little bit wet. But The weight of this gun is quite heavy. In honesty, they're both metal frame. Okay. However, the weight of the SIG being so much less, in my opinion, while sure it feels really, really good, the grips and everything are excellent. They fit my hand very, very well. I love the beaver tail off the back of it. The position of the safety and how the safety feels is very positive and clicky, as you can see. But even with the upgrade and the better trigger, in my opinion, I think the Beretta actually does feel better because it weighs 1,000,000 pounds. Okay. And even as I'm holding them here, there is a noticeable difference between these. Now, they're both extremely heavy, don't get me wrong. It's just the weight here makes this feel like a brick in your hand. Now, positives and negatives to that. Positives, like for example, are that the recoil, in my opinion, does feel a little bit less on the Beretta than it does the SIG. Obviously, more weight, less felt recoil. But it on the opposite side, though, a negative might be, for example, it's very difficult to carry this for any length of time, even on an outside the waistband, mid-ride holster, like I would carry it on a battle belt or whatever. This, because of its weight, just makes it very uncomfortable to carry it for any length of time. Okay, now it's not a huge amount of difference between them in actual weight, but it's just the felt weight. This one here feels so much less heavy than what the 92X Performance does. So, especially with a fully loaded magazine. Okay, even with the light on there and so on and so forth, that one's better in my opinion. All right, so now, absolutely adore both guns. Another positive of the SIG is that it's got obviously a full slide, and then of course it's optics ready, as you can see there. The Beretta, though, on the opposite side, as all 92s, has the cutout then for the barrel. So it is possible for that barrel to get really hot and for you to burn yourself, okay? So just be very, very careful if you are shooting this one a lot. Just stay away from the barrel, obviously, right? Yeah, so you can change out the grips, on both. There are things you can do with the sights on both. Now, I should say that the sights on the SIG, in my opinion, are a little bit better because they are night sights. The Beretta, though, even though they're not night sights, well, actually, they might be. I'd have to double check that. Anyway, because the backside is cantilevered on the Beretta, I actually like it better because it picks up to my eye better. Even if they are different, because of the cantilever back sight being closer to your eye and kind of right over the hammer that way, I actually do like that better, even though a lot of people don't. So just a personal opinion, frankly. Practicality, though, obviously they would do the same. But yes, because the SIG is optics ready, the Delta Point Pro footprint is what you'd have to use on that. Now, I haven't gotten a Delta Point Pro yet, so I will here soon. But when I pick that up, I'll mount that because that's more kind of my home defense gun. But these are just so similar because they had to fulfill the same contractual duties to the military when they were competing in that XM9 program. They're so similar. They really are. It's just, in my opinion, both of these being the upgraded versions, you have the 226 Legion versus the X Performance, compared to the baseline 92 and 226 military versions. These are going to feel quite a bit different, but just the two performance versions compared to each other, gosh, they're so close. I'm still going to have to give it to the SIG, in my opinion. So if you're looking at these, take that as it's worth. I don't know, the grain of salt, as they say, but up to you. Hopefully that makes sense. Bye.